Good morning. Welcome as folks are joining. We will give it a minute to let folks in. Good morning. As folks are joining, it's good to see everybody. We know it's 63 degrees in Boston, so we've seen a bit of a turn of the weather. And looks like Oklahoma Thunder is going to NBA Finals. Any Knicks fans out there? I'm sorry. It's over, Knicks. Okay. Welcome to Chris Marino and the folks from Teach Plus. We are so excited to have you with us this morning. Chris, I'll turn it over to you. I know you have many people joining us, and I'm sure you have a very tight agenda, so we'll get started.
I do, and I was also told by the fellows I have 2 minutes to speak, so I gotta make this
Excellent.
fast. It is great to be here. Longtime supporter of Amy O'Leary and the work I'm usually on. I would say over the past 5 years, 95% of the mornings.
Yeah.
I'm always working in the background to try to learn. Because myself, I come from the elementary school world, taught fourth grade for 15 years in upstate New York, and then was very active in the union and teacher leadership and had the opportunity to come work for Boston Public Schools when Tommy Chang was superintendent. And I spent 2 years there doing a lot of operations work, but my heart was still with teaching and teacher leadership and had the opportunity to come to Teach Plus in 2008. No, that's not correct. 2017 is when I joined Teach Plus. 8 years. So here we are. We're going to give you an overview of the fellowship. I have four fellows that are actually going to do the presentation. I'm going to give you a little bit of the background, and I'm going to ask Suzanne, you can go ahead and share your screen, please. How was that, Amy?
That was great. And
Great. And
Suzanne,
I
like,
apologize. I was saying to Amy, there's two seasons right now, rain and allergies. Today it's the allergies. So, all right. Go ahead, Suzanne, when you're ready. Perfect. I'll give you just a very, very quick overview of who we are here at Teach Plus. Teach Plus was founded, we're a nonprofit in 2007 by a teacher, a local teacher, who felt that education policy was being set by those who, one, didn't teach, haven't been in schools since they were in schools, or weren't going to those in the field to ask for teacher solutions and expert opinions. So all of our work that we do here is evidence-based, it's student-centered, and it's community-rooted. We are currently in development of a new strategic plan that's coming out later this summer. So our mission is going to stay the same. You could see it's to empower excellent, experienced, and diverse teachers to take leadership over key policy and practice issues that advance equity, opportunity, and student success. We also have what's called a student opportunity mandate. And when we speak about students, we're talking about our youngest learners through 12th grade. That's who we work with here. And that is that all students should have the opportunity to achieve their potential in an education system defined by its commitment to equity, responsiveness to individual needs, and its ability to prepare students for post-secondary success. When I came to Teach Plus, the cohort was kindergarten through 12th grade. And coming from that fourth grade elementary background, it didn't make sense to me. And I was questioning, and I remember, Amy, one of our early discussions years ago was like, why aren't the early childhood folks, those of you that are working with our youngest kids, part of the cohort? And I was told by several people, we're not sure it would work. How can your high school chemistry teacher do advocacy for their early childhood? Their early childhood folks don't really understand what happens. It's been absolutely magic. And we've been doing this now for 3 years. We are not going to change it. In fact, my hope by being on this call today with all of you is we want to expand that portion of the cohort to get more early childhood folks. So on the next slide, you will see that for the past year and a half, go ahead, Suzanne. You could hit the button. She's just listening.
She's
We went through an inquiry.
mesmerized, Chris,
Yes,
mesmerized.
that's right. We went through an inquiry process, and we used to at Teach Plus ask the educators, like, what are the 5 to 10 policy issues that you want to focus on? But we found at Teach Plus that by doing that, sometimes we were biting off more than we can chew, and we weren't making the deep impact that we knew we had the expertise from the fellows as well as from the organization to go through. So on the next slide, Suzanne will show you that we landed at early literacy, and we're expanding this to also include adolescent literacy. We know we're in a literacy crisis here in Massachusetts. We came up with a strategy that is going to include communication to parents, researching those best-in-class evidence-based instructional strategies, and then advocating for the bill, which you'll see at the bottom, and the fellows are going to share more. But this is a great example where there's a bill right now that we're advocating for, but the folks on this call and our early childhood fellows actually did editing in that bill and put language that they felt was important. So that would not have happened without having the early educator voice. Suzanne, you're doing a great job. Thank you. I'm not going to read this slide, but you could see this is just some facts about us. I do want to point out the second, it says 146 participating school districts. We are currently looking at our impact across the early childhood sector, and that will be part of our new strategic plan. Many of our fellows, including the 4 that you will meet today, have gone on to do great things beyond the fellowship, including one of our senior fellows this year, Louisa Sparrow, who is the 2025 Massachusetts Teacher of the Year. Okay, my time is up. The next slide, I'm super thrilled to introduce you to Desiree, Maria, Kimmy, and Suzanne, who are going to share their experiences with you. And then we're going to talk about how you can apply. Suzanne, take it away.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was like a preschool 2 minutes. That was 5 minutes, but it's all important, and I appreciate that you did it. It all needed to be in there. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining the call this morning, everybody. I see some familiar faces and some less familiar faces. I'm so glad that you chose to spend some time with us here today. I want to start just by asking the fellows to introduce themselves with who you are, where you teach, and who you teach, and what your role is in the fellowship. And we can just go left to right by order of your beautiful headshots here.
Hi, I'm Desiree Patten. I'm the director of Harbor City School in East Boston. We're a really small Reggio Emilia inspired nonprofit preschool. And what else was I supposed to say? I'm so sorry, Suzanne.
Oh, your role in the fellowship.
Oh, I'm a senior fellow this year.
Thank you, Desiree.
Hi, my name is Maria Sack. I am a dual language educator in New Bedford. I teach Spanish in a dual language classroom, and I am new this year, and I have been doing wonderful things with Teach Plus.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kimmy Tremlett. I am a 4th-grade SEI teacher at Framingham Public Schools. I also run the SOAR summer school program pre-K to 5 at Framingham Public Schools, and I'm their lead equity champion for the district at Framingham Public Schools. And this year I am a senior fellow, and I run the inclusive curriculum working group for Teach Plus. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Kimmy. My name is Suzanne Stillinger. I am a lead teacher, co-director, and accessibility coordinator at New Village, which is a nonprofit collective of family childcares all in the same block, serving birth to 5 in Northampton, Massachusetts. And I'm just about to start, I think, my 5th year at Teach Plus. And I am a senior fellow.
And for longtime 930 callers, you'll remember that Suzanne and Aiden were on during the 4th anniversary of the 930 call, following Governor Maura Healey.
Yeah, we got a real spotlight that week
You
because the
did.
governor was coming. Yes.
Maybe
Um,
by design, Suzanne, right? We
yes.
want to make sure.
Any kid faces you see in the photos in the slideshow today are okayed by the parent because they are my kid. Um, I wanted to start with just a little bit of my personal story, and I'll weave in some threads of it as we go. But I stumbled into early childhood education and care in 1997 when I started volunteering at Casa Mirna Vasquez, which is a network of shelters for survivors of domestic violence in the child care spaces on site. I was hired soon as a children's service advocate, and at the age of 20, uh, filled with good intentions, but no zero coursework in early childhood, I burned out really, really quickly. After moving to Western Mass and earning an early childhood degree from Greenfield Community College, I worked up and down the I-91 corridor for community action as a Head Start teacher from Turner's Falls down to West Springfield. None of us got into early childhood to get rich quick. We choose this work because it's important work and we know that we make a huge impact in the lives of children and families every day. And I know that planting seeds metaphor gets overused in early childhood, but it's because it really fits. Our impact in children and families' lives grows immeasurably as they move into adulthood. But the reality is that many of us work second and third jobs in order to afford to stay in the classroom, and that no matter how wonderful our work in the classroom is, children and families still face many barriers to surviving and thriving. I can make a little paradise in my classroom, feeding our ducks and simply rebuilding the block towers that fall down, but my students are still hungry. My families are still waiting on vouchers they signed up for in 2021. Early childhood educators are still underpaid, and early childhood education and care is still under-resourced and underfunded. We do incredible things in our classrooms and care spaces, and we can do more. We can work to shift the conversations and policies that influence our day-to-day work and the lives of the people we serve. This is me in 2013. That was my first visit to the Mass State House. I was talking to Rep. Finn. He's still serving 6th District in Hamden. I was there to talk to legislators about early childhood educator funding. There was no coaching or training before we went about who to talk to, what they needed to hear. No one was there organizing us, telling us where to go, and it was very chaotic and overwhelming. And I was intimidated by the marble and the chandeliers and the very strange kind of you can't get there from here layout of the Mass State House. I see some nods. Yes. When I noticed there was no media there noticing what we were doing, I walked upstairs and found a reporter and a camera operator from Channel 22. They were eating lunch. They came down and did a quick spot about us. But that particular funding push to raise ECE pay did not pass in the budget. And I didn't feel like the effort mattered. I was discouraged and I felt really small. Just a few months later, a government shutdown at the federal level led to, among many other things, budget sequestration for Head Start. I don't know if y'all remember that way back then. What that meant was we had to close my site. I was laid off with no notice, and I was 10 weeks pregnant, now unemployed and uninsured. When people say they like to keep the personal and political separate, it's hard for me to understand. The political is very personal. Um, this is a photo from the State House just a few years later. That's my now 11-year-old looking up at the dome there. She wasn't impressed by the whole visit, but dragged her around on a lobby day with me last year. One of the first things that Chris said to me in my first year at Teach Plus was opportunity begets opportunity. I'm going to lean back a bit into the seed planting metaphor here in talking about that. What I didn't know about how policy moves at the state and federal level could have filled a book then. And in my first year at the fellowship, I was guided through key facets of policy work in the ways that put me in front of the people who needed to hear from early childhood people with a message that was thoughtfully crafted with support from teacher leaders with experience in this work. I won't read this slide bullet point by bullet point, but I want to highlight the first lobby day I attended. Chris was there. We were working with Common Start folks, and there was a gathering before we headed out in the building to let us know where to go, who to talk to, how to give an effective message. All of those things that were missing from that first trip, that structure and support, were in place. And a lot of that Common Start stuff was included in the past 2 years of the budget. Obviously, not just the fellows' responsibility, but that collaborative effort really meant something. We're seeing real change and a spotlight on early childhood education and care that we haven't seen. So again, I won't go through every bullet point because we've accomplished a lot of stuff, but I want to lean into the opportunity begets opportunity point here. That photo on the left there is me testifying in front of the Education Committee about Common Start legislation. I was there with my co-teacher and co-fellow Aidan White, who did the fellowship for a few years as well. That was the first time I think Amy and I saw each other in real life. And on the right is a picture of me reading in the garden to my students. It's the top of the fold headline in the Gazette. And that happened because of an op-ed that I published in the Hampshire Gazette about Common Start funding and what it could do for us. So again, to that seed planting opportunity begets opportunity piece, a lot of things grew from just reaching out to the local paper and saying, hey, can I tell you about what's happening in early childhood right now? And that op-ed wouldn't have happened without the fellowship. It was not a tool I had in my toolbox. I tossed in some classroom photos here just to make sure the slides weren't too dry. This is one of my good friends who likes to wear mismatched shoes. She is a real treasure. So I'm going to run through the next few slides kind of quickly, and we can share the slide deck if folks want to share the specific information with folks who might be a good fit for the fellowship. The fellowship offers a lot. And I'm going to start with that middle point. If you saw that dollar sign, there is a stipend of $1,500 for your time because Teach Plus understands we don't have a lot of time. We are busy folks. They work around a teacher's schedule. We don't have daytime meetings. They're evening meetings. They're not overlong. And during those meetings, we hear from guest speakers. We get trainings with a variety of people that we learn how to influence policy, do advocacy. Sorry, this thing is blocking my slide. Can I move that over? I don't know if you can see all the photos in my shared thing, but if I'm blocking part of the text, just let me know.
We can see it.
Oh, you can. Great. And shift in public opinion. Sorry. I'm not a Zoom expert. I'm an audience expert, but not a host. I apologize for that. So I want to make sure we have enough time to hear from the other fellows, but this is a part I want to lean into a bit about who is a good fit, because I almost didn't apply when I read the promo materials. I've never taken a civics course. I don't know how government works. I don't understand the policy, any of the process in the State House. I didn't know anything about it. And so I didn't think I was qualified. And I want to make sure I really underscore this point. You do not need to know anything. And I see you nodding your head, Kimmy. Yes. You do not need to know anything about how government works in order to apply for this fellowship. It's kind of the point. All you need is to care deeply about improving the lives of the people we serve, to be self-motivated and curious, to have creative and thoughtful solutions to problems we face in this field, and are continuing to learn about the root causes of inequality and want to address those inequalities in this work. That picture is one of my kids' portraits of Nina Simone we did this year. I'm really proud of those, so I wanted to sneak that in here. All right. If somebody else on the call can drop that, I forgot to cut and paste that link to drop into chat, but there's a link for more information.
It's
and
in
how to
there.
apply.
Yep.
It's in there. Thank you so much,
Yep.
Chris.
You got it.
And I put a little but after that deadline is 6/2 because Chris, I think I remember you saying early childhood folks to have a little extra time.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to extend by a week, just so folks can look at the application, reach out to me, Suzanne, whoever, if you have questions, and you're going to hear from the other fellows too as well.
Thank you so much. I want to move to a Q&A portion. Kimmy, I told you about this photo, I think, of our text last night. That was like one of my favorite things the kids have ever done with finger puppets is toe puppets before rest time this year. I will move the photos so you can see, but I wanted to take some time at the end here for Q&A, but first to just ask the fellows who are joining the call here, did I miss anything? What made you apply for the fellowship? What drew you to the fellowship? What have you gained? And what was surprising to you about this experience? And if we could go in the same order we did introductions, and we'll just know. So Desiree, Maria, then Kimmy.
Sure. So the former director of my school had done it the year prior and recommended me for it. And like Suzanne, I was a little intimidated in terms of policy and exactly how bills and things are passed. I know we all learned it in elementary school, but it wasn't anything I, you know, used in my daily life. But I knew I wanted to see some change for early ed. For teachers, for families, equitability, the cost for families and the need for teachers to be paid more, but without that going on the backs of families. And how could I be a change in that? So, I did my original fellowship 3 years ago, in 2022. And, we had a lot of opportunity to meet with lawmakers and lobby and meet with Amy Kershaw and all sorts of things like that, which were really surprising to me and I didn't expect to be able to do. And I was really excited about. And it also kind of, like Suzanne was saying, opportunity begets opportunity. And it also, sparked in me, I want to do more. And I felt like for me, acting locally was where I could have the most impact. So I've been doing a lot of things since joining the fellowship, specifically for families in East Boston, and for making sure that our families here in East Boston have what they need in terms of access to early education, being prepared for kindergarten, but also the things that we don't think about, we think about, but maybe people in general just don't think about, housing and how are we going to pay those bills and how are we going to get jobs and, what rights do I have as an immigrant or, despite my status in this country. So I've really been digging my heels in here locally and for my family's in East Boston. And I came back to the fellowship because I made so many connections the first time around. Suzanne and our other fellows that we just continued to be in contact, work together, be resources for each other in the time in between my two stints in Teach Plus. And I think really those connections I've made have been one of the most impactful things for me personally, but also,
Desiree, I'm gonna hop in.
Yes.
Can you share that second one in the chat? Just I want to make sure that Maria and Kimmy.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm just
No, it's
going
okay. We've got about 5 more minutes. I want to make sure we have time for questions. So
Yes,
Maria
yes.
and Kimmy,
Go for
and
it.
then if you wanted to share more than you got to say, please just drop it in chat.
No,
And
that's
if you have
perfect.
questions or comments for us, please put those in chat too. I can see the chat now. So
Yeah, that's my preschool 2 minutes for you. All right.
yeah. Go ahead, Maria. Thank you. Thanks, Desiree.
Thank you. So I applied for the Teach Plus Fellowship because I wanted to continue growing, not only as an educator, but also as a leader and advocate. I also wanted to gain more understanding of how decisions are made at the state and local levels. I wasn't familiar with that before I joined this wonderful program. I especially wanted to know how those decisions that affect our students, families, and school were made. This year, I have been stepping outside of my comfort zone by writing testimony and supporting of regulations that impact our students. I also began developing my writing skills by writing and publishing an article on dual language education and the bridge, a powerful tools used in dual language classroom. So I did that with the support of the Teach Plus writing team. It was wonderful for me as a English language learner. This opportunity, along with many others provided by Teach Plus, have helped me to realize how powerful a teacher voice can be in shaping policy and supporting others in the field of education. So I believe this fellowship provides the tools, relationship, and space to learn and grow through positive collaboration with others educators they have the same passion in education and want to make a difference. What surprised me the most was how much I learned from my co-worker and the teachers in this cohort. For example, I didn't know about this call until Suzanne shared this with us in our last meeting. I hope many more teachers can join us and can learn from this wonderful program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. All right, Kimmy, can you do it in 1 minute?
I'm going to shoot for 40 seconds.
Okay, go for it.
So similar to Suzanne, I had been in my district about 13 years, and I was really looking to uplift teacher voice and just people, student voice, family voice in a way that was meaningful, that could impact accessible and inclusive decision making. I started speaking at public commentary at school committee meetings and got involved at central office. But really, the only trajectory that I saw forward with making a positive impact with those who are on the ground floor was suggestions of you should go into administration, and that wasn't a path I was interested in. Then Teach Plus was suggested to me by my HR department, and I started reading their website, and I was like, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And I joined, and that couldn't be more true. I also remember Chris standing at orientation day sharing opportunity begets opportunity. And we hear this so many times in PDs or in our schools, but to see it truly delivered in my years of teaching, Teach Plus has been really the first place that like gets it done. I had never been to the State House. I had never worked on policy before. In 2 months into my fellowship, my first year, Chris had me speaking at a legislative briefing for the Educator Diversity Act with Senator Manny Cruz. And I quickly came to learn that so many of us in education already are the experts, even though that is not uplifted all the time in our spaces. And Teach Plus does an incredible job of uplifting that, honoring that, and also making sure that you have the tools to move that forward. Now I run the inclusive curriculum group. I'm facilitating meetings with representatives. My group is meeting with one of the staffers from Representative Sears' office to talk about inclusive materials. And I could not say that I was prepared for that years ago before I joined Teach Plus. So I cannot say enough about how Teach Plus really respects and honors educator voice, but also prepares you to make a global and national impact on policy that informs our classrooms. I think it was 1 minute. I don't think it was 40 seconds.
All right, I want to make sure Chris gets the last word here.
No, I
I
actually don't
just want
want
to
the.
say,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
know that a lot of the folks on this call are not in classrooms during the day because
Yeah.
I know if you can hear my classroom in the background, I have coverage right now. If you know someone who is a good fit, who is passionate about this work and wants to do more and learn more about improving what's happening in early childhood and beyond, please do share this information with them. Chris is available to answer questions. You can reach out to us. Please let people know about this opportunity. It's an incredible, incredible thing that Teach Plus does. Chris.
No, that's perfect. I have nothing more to say. I mean, my goodness. Thank you. How
And
was that,
there,
Amy?
that was great. There was a question in chat about how long is a fellowship.
Yeah.
Lots of appreciation for the work that you're doing. And the link to get more information. So I think we are all set. Thank you so much. It's hard to have five people share in half an hour, and you did it. A masterful facilitation, Suzanne. So, and as Chris said, Chris is often on the call. So if you have follow-up questions, I know Chris will be here, and all the links are in chat. So thanks so much for joining us today, and we will be back next Monday for the 9:30 call. So thanks everybody for joining us, and have a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Amy.
And Maria, I think the question was about the link for the fellowship, which we got. So I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.